Hi everybody. In an effort to keep these older film cameras alive, this is another in my series of how to load film. So the Mamiya twin lens camera is just another one of these 2 1/4 cameras that takes 120 film, and it has a certain technique on how to load it. It's not that hard, but until you know it, it can be a bit of a mystery and an inconvenience. These twin lens cameras, they shoot very good images. The optic quality on the Mamiyas is pretty good optics, so I would suggest getting on eBay and finding one for yourself and giving this a try. On the back of the camera, this little dial is a secondary lock. Counterclockwise locks it and clockwise unlocks it. Then there's an arrow here to slide it to the right and unlatch the back. Once the back is open, you can see on this particular camera there's a possibility of shooting with 120 or 220 film. You'd rotate the pressure plate to go to 220 if you're using the larger film. I don't know many people that use 220 or really ever use 220, but it's there. Number one, as with all 2 1/4 cameras, you've got a film reel and a take-up reel, and this is the old film reel from the last roll of film. On the side here you have a latch that you pull out and twist a little bit so it locks in position. Twist it back and it'll close. So we want it to stay open for us. I'm going to do that with the top one as well. Then I take my thumb and push this back to unlatch it from the inside. Over here we have a take-up frame, and I can stick this 2 1/4 take-up reel from the old 120 film in there, and then close the thumb latch and make sure it's positioned. There you go. Now I can take the rewind knob, or the wind knob, there's no rewind on these cameras, and position the slot of the spool so that it can take the paper from the 120 film. Okay. Here's a box of neopan. It's expired for about 12 years, so I guess it's going to be great to use for this experiment. I will release the wrapping ribbon there and remove it completely. Last thing we want is for this paper to fall into the camera and affect your future exposures. Stick this down on the spool, push it into place gently, and release this. Fiddle with it until it falls nice and snug against the body. There you go. A little more of the tab is underneath. I'm going to pull it across, and I'm going to put it right down the center of that other 2 1/4 spool. Once I have it in the center, I'm going to start to wind it, but I will keep my finger on it just for a little bit of the wind until it feels like there's tension. Once that tension is in place, I can let go and let it wind. Most 2 1/4, well, all 2 1/4 films have a start point, and all 2 1/4 cameras have a little indicator where that start is. On the Mamiyas, it's a little red dot like that. So there you go. I'm going to close this down and move that thumb screw to clockwise position, a counterclockwise position, so that it's latched. Okay, there it is, latched in place. There's a window right here that shows what counter number you're on, 1 to 12 for this square format camera. So I will wind this until it gets to 1. So it will stop automatically when you've wound it to the proper place, and you look in the window and there's a number 1. After I take the picture, it'll allow me to advance further and then go to number 2 and so on. When you're finished with the roll of film, after you've taken number 12, you will wind it, but it will not be wound completely. So as you start to wind it, it's a little bit stiff, and then it'll get easy. Once it's easy, that means all of the paper and film have gone onto the take-up spool, and then you can open the camera and you're ready to process the film. I'm going to go ahead and advance this film and talk to you about how to use the camera in the process. So after advancing the film, you focus with this focusing knob on either side, and the shutter release is down here. And when you click it, it clicks like that. So Then it allows me to advance the film. And I'll take a light meter reading, maybe with my iPhone or maybe with a handheld light meter or whatever you've got available to you. The light meter I use on my iPhone is called Pocket Light Meter. It's very effective. A lot of people are using it. Pretty nice little tool for these cameras. So I get a light meter setting and I set my aperture and my shutter speed, which depends on the lens you have on the camera. It could be in a different place because the lenses are not all the same. They just have the same mount to fit this camera. So I get it all set, I focus, and then I cock the shutter, and I'm ready to take the second picture. Okay, I've come to number 12, and as I've said, you focus nicely, you adjust your shutter speed and aperture to match the correct exposure that you've measured, cock the shutter, you take the picture, and then you wind it. Well, it's not going to stop because now it's done counting the pictures. So the way to know is as you wind it, suddenly it gets easy and you know that you've taken up all of the paper and film to the other side. I will move my twisty thumb screw clockwise and then unlatch the camera, and there you go. The film is on the take-up side and the old spool from the film is down here. I will unlatch this part. Film just popped right up. So typically I want to fold this over and then fold it under, and that leaves a little bump right here so that when I'm in the dark I can get a fingernail under there and open it up. Once your film is rolled like this, it's pretty much light safe, but I wouldn't put this out in the sun. Just a little common sense. Keep the exposed film just like you would with a 35mm cassette. Keep it out of direct sunlight. You know, these old cameras aren't going to be around forever, so I hope you'll take the opportunity to enjoy them. If you have a camera that you have questions about, I think I've used a lot of different cameras, so feel free to put something in the comments sections. Be nice if you could subscribe and like it or give me suggestions, and hopefully my YouTube channel will grow. Thank you very much.